Hello, Strat fans. This is Strat-O-logy, the show for and by students of Strat-O-Matic. I'm your host, Jimmy James. Today on this show, tournament play and Sir Strat collide like a 1980s Reese's peanut butter commercial. You got your tournament play in my Sir Strat. No, you got your Sir Strat in my tournament play. Well, they'll both be about the mystery tournament on Strat 365. It's down to 12 teams. They had a live draft on Sunday, August 15th, and the league had its first games on August 18th. So we want to take a look at those teams, and the Roundtable guys will break them down and make their predictions. So sit back, grab your cards and dice, and let's roll.
Tournament play.
My plan since the start of the show has been always to highlight the different Strat tournaments, both the live and the online tournaments. There are just so many great Strat-O-Matic players out there, and I thought some of you would be like me and would be interested in what is going on in those tournaments and would like to learn from these guys. But this year's tournament pits my desire to promote these guys with my major rule for the show. Don't talk about your own teams. Anecdotally or as an example is okay, but that is as far as it goes. We all know the most interesting thing in the world is your fantasy football team, and the most boring thing in the world is somebody else's fantasy football team. We get that. But I actually did make it into this finals league. My first ever, and as tough as this competition is, this could be my only one. So because of that, I thought it would be really nice to pull back the curtain a little, not really focus on my team itself, but at least give you the strategies I'm using and the thoughts on the tournament as it plays out, whether the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. So how did I get there? Well, I did okay in the first 4 events, but on the 5th event, the semifinals, my team was not very good. I was very lucky. I think I dropped from 2nd place after 4 rounds down to 6th. But thank goodness, I still made it and held on to that spot. I voted for the 1980s set originally, $80 million budget, originally for an auto draft. And what else? 4 unique stadiums and for repeat stadiums, I think. Okay, so we had our draft on Sunday. I don't mind telling you, I was pretty stressed out. This was my first live draft ever in Strat 365. It was actually pretty fun. It took us about 2 hours for us to get through it. So actually a little bit less time than I had figured it was going to take. I did have all the guys I wanted marked out on a list, and my 11-year-old sat with me and crossed the names off so I would know who still was on the board. My draft strategy was originally to go first defense, then hitting, combined if I could get them. After that, it was bullpen, then hitters off the bench since it's a non-DH league, and then finally starting pitching. I believe in this 1960s set there are a lot of pitchers, and I really went for pitchers because I'm in Fenway that did not give up a lot of home runs. So I felt good at the end. I got a lot of the players that I wanted. We did not have a waiver period. It went directly into frenzy, and during that time I made a few tiny adjustments. I dropped from a 10-man staff down to a 9-man pitching staff, upgraded my left-handed pinch hitter, traded Allison for Callison. I was a little too right-handed heavy, I thought. The season, like I said, started Wednesday, and I'm going to post a link to it on our Facebook page. I think really the only other thing so far is I have had one injury reveal. I had Boyer injured for part of a game, and it looks to me like it's either the superstar year or one of his other really good years. So I feel good about that. Okay, well, as I do more in the tournament, I will let you know and let you know what my thoughts are. Hopefully, we'll get something out of it. Okay, well, we will be back with Sir Strat after this.
You're listening to the 365 Sportscast Network, the streaming future of sports talk radio. Listen to us round the clock on the net over 365sportscast.com. On your phone with the 365 Sportscast app, and on your favorite smart speaker by enabling the 365 Sportscast skill and saying, "Play 365 Sports." The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of 365 Sportscast LLC, its owners and partners, or this network.
Sir Strat of the Roundtable.
Hello, we're here on Sir Strat of the Roundtable with Sir Charles, Sir Peter, and Sir Tony. I'm Sir James, and our topic today is reviewing the draft of the Mystery Tournament Finals League. Without much more ado, let's start with the East Division. Okay, in the East Division, let's start with you, Sir Charles. What do you got for the East Division?
So the East Division, I feel the best team in this division is the Mystery 60s Gritch. I think they've got really solid pitching. Pitchers have great hold numbers because the catchers don't have great throwing arms, and that will take care of that. Their relief pitchers, they've got some great relief pitchers, some really good values with Ron Taylor and Tug McGraw. They also have a lot of starters. They've got Drysdale and Bob Veal, and they have a lot of mixing and matching after that. They've got 5 other starters that can be shifted into 2 pitching slots, which I like. I think their fielding is very average, but that's okay. And for hitters, DC Stadium is not a great power park, but they've got some power hitters, so they can play anywhere. You know, Frank Robinson, Reggie Jackson, Boog Powell. The DC Stadium is a right-hander hitter's paradise, but Boog Powell can hit him anywhere. So I like the Mystery Gritch to win. Other teams in that division, real quickly, Small Ball Wonders. I think that they are the long shot. They're starting pitchers, all low-value starting pitchers, and none of them have asterisks. So if 1 out of 5, he's got a 20% chance of getting a bad starter and just basically on the straight flat arrow. It can be even worse. So he might be flipping pitchers all season. His pen is mediocre. I don't think he has any power, but he's got a really decent fielding team. So that's what I think about Small Ball Wonders. Phantom Mysterion. I kind of liked this team, to be honest with you. I like their starting pitchers. I like Don Sutton and Larry Jackson. Their pen is the best in the division. Actually, yeah, their pen is, I like their pen. I don't know if it's the best in the division. Their fielding is super strong. All ones across in the outfield. 2 at second, 2 at third. I mean, this team can play. So, Tommy Helms at second and Mian at second. Dick Hoke at third. Menke at short. In the outfield with Pinson, Clemente, and Pete Rose. So there's a lot that can be done there. And Tourney Final Battle, the 4th team in that division. Good pitching staff. Dean Chance, Jim Maloney, Whitey Ford. Good bullpen. Dick Radish, Jim Bounton, a personal favorite, and Bob Lee. And in terms of their fielding is probably the weakest in the division. This is a non-DH league. In order to get Frank Howard's bat in the lineup, he's going to play first base where he's not great. He's a lousy fielder on left, but it looks like he's the first baseman. But the rest of the outfield looks like Tovar and Tony Gonzalez are platooning. There's a 2 and a 3. There's just not enough outfielders in that team. So my pick to win that division is Mystery Gritch.
Yeah, well, is Howard going to play first, or is Allen going to play first on that team?
Well, if that's a good question. They have Ron Santo, so it looks like they have one too many players per position. So to get Howard in the lineup, you're gonna put him in left or sit Dick Allen on the bench. So that's it's kind of like it's a numbers game. So if you can live with Frank Howard as a 4+1 E8 and left, well, then you can. I can.
For what you said, I agree with a lot of that, especially about that low priced bullpen for Mysterion. That Upton card is a really good card for that price, I think. I mean, it was picked very, very early, so that surprised me a little bit. How about you, Sir Peter? What do you think?
So in the East, I really like the Tourney Final Battle Pants. I think they are, the word safe is sort of where I went with that. And in this division, there are a lot of risks being taken. I think, there are some really good budgeted bullpen players, especially with small ball and phantom. But I think Tourney has the best overall team. So when it comes to a division with or a league with no DH, you're really looking for putting a quality at bat in every single one of those pitcher spots when that would come up. And I think they have the most balance. I mean, it is close. And I will say this about with Gritch, I think it is close. And I really like Gritch. But I think Tourney just had I think they had a little bit of the safer pick. And I think so small ball and phantom, I think are going to go on these are going to go on these swings. I think they'll win, 8 of 10, but I think they're also going to end up losing, 7 out of 10 at some point. I don't think the Battle Pants will ever go through those swings. I think they're gonna get a win or 2 wins every single night. They'd be very rarely. Do I think they'll be swept? And I don't necessarily have any specific players in mind, but when I look at it from the big picture, they really had just the most all-around team. And when you're getting to this point in the season and this point in the tournament, I think the fewer chances some of these you may be taking is usually the best bet. With that said, I think Gritch would be a very, very close second, but I do see Phantom also coming out of I see Phantom being able to win this division. I just don't think in the long run their bullpen will hold up.
You really like Cardenas at shortstop, don't you?
I love Cardenas at shortstop. Absolutely. So I do. He's really that second. He's that second tier. Really, I shouldn't even say second tier shortstop. There's just a lack of shortstops in this set that I would feel comfortable playing. And he's really just as good as just about anybody at that position. He can move batters over. And defense is really the closest you're going to get to a 1 in that whole set. So I am a big fan of that.
Yeah, in fact, I got the only one. That was actually my first draft pick in Aparicio. Yep. So there's just not a lot of defense, and if you have any defense, there's not a lot of hitting. It's at shortstop in that set.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so Tony, what do you think about the East?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty even division. I don't think anybody's going to run away with this division. It's just what I look at it. I do like the defense, and I think I'm a defensive guy where defense could make marginal pitchers better. Small ball wonders, I mean, I'm going to predict they're going to edge out the division maybe by half a game or 2 in the end because I think they're solid on defense. They got some 1s in the infield, good 2s in the outfield, low E's except for Rusty Staub in right field. So I think their defense, Bill Freehand, I'm a big Bill Freehand guy. I think I agree with what Charles said with this team is they don't have any asterisks. So all these guys got to go on 5 days rest. But like I said, I think the marginal pitchers can be made better. by that defense. But I don't really see anybody running away with this division, in my opinion. Phantom has good. I mean, they have some good pitching with Don Sutton, Mom Paquette, but again, they have. I would predict them up there in the division, so I think they will battle in the end. So I would think Phantom and Small Ball would battle. The thing I don't like about some of these other teams is Gritch got three catchers that are fours and all have plus arms. Now the hold ratings, as Charles said, that will come into play. And Don Drysdale, I think, and Bob Veal are some very good starters, and Tug McGraw should be good on the back end. But I just think that those fours behind the plate could come back in the end and cost them. And then, like I said, then we get to this fourth team, tournament field final battles. Again, I see catchers that are fours. I do see some good defense in the middle with Mazeroski, but then there's a 3 at short and Dick Grote and Johnny Logan. I like to try to have 1s and 2s at shortstop or second base up the middle. And I do like Dick Raddatz. I played a 60s year one year, and he had a bunch of saves for me. So that's my prediction. I think Small Ball Wonders and Phantom will battle it out to the end in a close race in that division.
Well, it's interesting that you say that with Small Ball because, Morgan was their first pick.
Wow. And I see he's a 3 in this deck. Yeah, he's a 3 in this deck.
Yeah. So it's very interesting with that. And you brought up, you and Tim both brought up that. But, there are a couple. Woodstick, Moose, and Odell were all on my draft list. They're very good home run per batter. They give up very few home runs. They're way less than 1 home run per 10 innings. So with it being a middle of the road park, there may be that strategy being added in there on that too.
Well, let me make one more comment on that team too. I like Fergosi at short. I mean, if you don't have Aparicio, Fergosi's really good there. And then I really like Brooks Robinson at third. That tells me a lot there. So, I mean, and White at first. I think those are 3 very solid infielders. And then Morgan can contribute in different ways. So, I mean, he's an A, could lead him off, right? Try to get him on base, and he has an on base of 364. Wait, did I read that right? No, he has an on base of 374. So I think that the team could play. But again, I'm not enamored with any team in this division, as I said.
Okay, so let's do a little quick recap. So, Charles, what's your 1 through 4 on this league?
All right, I'm going with Mystery 60s Gritch to win. I am going on Phantom Mysterian for second, 20 Finals Battle Pants for third, and Small Ball Wonders in the cellar.
Okay, you, Sir Pete, what's your prediction?
I'm going Battle Pants first. I'm going Gritch second, Small Ball Wonders third, and Phantom Mysterian fourth. But
okay.
I will say this is that there will probably be only 3 or 4 games between first place and last place.
Okay, very cool. And what about you, Sir Tony? What is your prediction for this division?
Well, I agree with Peter that it's not going to be a big separation between first and last place. But my prediction, I'm opposite of what these other guys think. I think Small Ball and Phantom, like I said, are going to battle it out with maybe Small Ball edging them. And then I think Gritch in third and Tournament in 20 and fourth. That's just my thought on it.
Okay.
Close division. I think it's going to play close. I think you're going to see a lot of 500 teams in this division are pretty close to it.
Okay. Very cool. We will be back after this with the Central Division. Thank you, guys.
Sir Strat of the Roundtable.
We are back. Now we are going to hop into the Central Division. Okay, the Arroyo Dons, the New York Final Turnizillas, New Frontier, and the Florence Phalanx. Okay, Sir Charles, what are your predictions for this division?
This was the toughest division for me to call because it's so dependent on the cards that you get. I think any team can win this one, but I'm going to pick Florence Phalanx. They are my favorite to win. And even though I hate their bullpen, I think but their starters, Chris Shaw, this team I found is out of all 12 teams, it's built for the ballpark better than anybody else. They have all these lefty starters. They're playing over at Candlestick Park, and they have a lot of lefty. Candlestick Park is a 1 to 18 lefties for homers. And so he's got a lot of lefty starting pitchers, and he's got a lot of lefty batters. He has some really, his fielding is kind of average in the infield, which is kind of a worrisome. But the outfield is super strong fielders. Like Patek is his shortstop, maybe Ruben Amaro, based on who's who there. Carew and Temple, good hitters, are not great fielders. Killebrew looks like his third baseman, and that's like, he's a pylon out there. But the outfield, you have Tony Oliva, good fielder. Rick Monday, good fielder. Mickey Stanley, good fielder. So that's why I really like that team. The rest is a super toss up. I like Arroyo Dons because of their pitching staff. Arroyo Dons has, Koufax, Marichal, Spahn, Culp, and their bullpen, John Hiller, Brosnan, Fisher. This is the best pitching staff in the league. And they'll win a lot of games at Crosley. Unfortunately, with Arroyo Don is I don't think that their hitting's going to cut it enough. They're pretty lefty heavy for power, and Crosley is kind of it favors righties slightly in singles, and it plays 1 to 7 both sides in homers. And I think that's going to make a difference for Arroyo. New York finals 20 Zillas. This team could either totally dominate this division or do poorly. I feel that he's got the M&M boys, Mantle and Maris, and the whole team is going to be based on how those guys do. If you get good cards from them, look out. If you've got a high injury Mantle card and a bad Maris card, it's going to make a huge difference. I thought they have above average starting pitching. The fielding is probably the worst in the league. There are 4s everywhere. So that's why they need Maris and Mantle to overcome their poor fielding team. And last but not least in this division, the New Frontier. And the New Frontier, I think, is a very interesting ball club too. They've got they've got some very economical starters, but I think that their whips are good. Sadecki, Ellsworth, Bosman, and Jackson. So they skimped on the starters a bit, but those starters can come up big on their good cards. There's plenty of room to play around. You have Ortega and Selma. You get them on one of their good cards, and they're solid aces. Their bullpen, Steve Hamilton and Jack Aker, you're going to do flippity-floppity, left on left, right on right. Hopefully, if they both have their good cards, again, that's going to be a dominant bullpen. In terms of their hitting, this is a great hitting team. So this is as Sir Peter would say, this is a safe team. Earl Beatty's your catcher. Your outfielder, you have Willie Mays, Duke Snyder, good fielders with Hirschberger. You have Belanger at short. This team is going to contend. New Frontier is definitely going to contend. So that's how I look at the teams in this division.
Well, do you think that they're going to play Belanger at short? Because you've also got Petrocelli and Alcliffe. It looks to me like they're looking to find out which one of those guys is their everyday shortstop. And then they can put that money somewhere else. Exactly.
And the other thing, too, is if you've got good cards from McAwful and Petrocelli, you can shift Petrocelli at third if Don Buford's not cutting it at third. So this team has a lot of play. If they have bad cards, they have a lot to play around with to still have a good team, no matter how much bad luck they might have. And if they've got good luck, this is a contending team.
I really love that baddie card. And it got drafted right before I was getting ready to take it. If I would have, I really like that one on there. And that Casco card is a very good hitting backup infielder. He doesn't have great defense, but he's a 3. So if he's just playing when somebody's injured, or in a league like this where you've got to have a strong bench because there's no DH. Casco could be literally a 300 hitter off the bench.
I've had Casco hit 300 for me, and he's a great card to have.
Also in this one, a guy who was on my list as a backup infielder was for the Phalanx was Temple. I think Temple is a great pickup there.
Yeah, he's got some proven players that if they're not on their good cards, usually the rest of their cards are pretty playable. And as I stated before, he's got a lot of room for error on this team and still be able to trot out a really good team each night.
Great analysis. How about you, Sir Peter? What do you think about the Central Division?
So I like the Zillas to win. I think they're very well spread out on pitching and on offense, and especially in a no DH league, you're going to need. Out of 15 hitters, I have no problem with really 13 of them. He's got 13 solid hitters. Now, of course, being the mystery team, if he gets some bad cards, it could be a challenge for him. But I think he has enough. I think he has enough variety where he can make it work. I mean, obviously, if Mantle and or Maris cards don't pan out for him, he can be in trouble. But I think he should be fine there. When it comes to his pitching, big fan of that Jenkins card. I've seen it in a lot of different leagues. It's always performed very, very well. I think he's got the right team. I really like Yankee Stadium for that team. It will play well to his offense. It's a pitcher's park, but his offense is a lot of small ball mixed in with some really good, some sneaky power. So I think it will play well. I think he's going to do well getting that second and third and fourth hit in the inning. So I think that's going to play him very, very well. Arroyo, I think, is going to pitch lights out, but I don't think they're going to be able to score too many runs. They have some cards with some hitters, not a lot of strikeouts on those cards. But just from my view, I think they're going to go through some big scoreless streaks where they're going to have trouble scoring some runs. They're very top heavy on their offense. Again, I think for the Zillas being able to get that second and third hit, I think Arroyo will struggle getting that second and third hit. New Frontier, I know this sounds crazy, especially coming from me, but I think they spend a little too much money in their bullpen. I think they have some money invested in guys that won't see a lot of innings. And I think they have a little too much invested there and not enough offense. And their defense is pretty suspect. I think Florence, I think they're built very similar to Zillas, but I think what will cost them in the end is their up the middle defense. That the pitching is not necessarily deep enough, and I think their defense up the middle is really going to cost them some runs and just sort of edge them out of that division. And overall, the Zillas have that have the team for the long haul. I don't think they're ever going to have 6-game losing streak. I don't think they're ever going to go win 10 in a row. But they're going to be the slow and steady wins the race team, and I think that'll put them in a good spot to win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like a lot on the Zillas. They're on their bullpen, locker, and that stock card. I think that stock card is a very good value card. You get the right year on that card, and you could have a very, very good value right there. I think Lumpe at second is a very good second baseman that it's very steady. So all 4 years, about what you're going to, or all 5 years, what you're going to get from it. And he's a lefty, so it can split. And there's not a lot of great lefties in this league. That's what's going to give, I think, like you were talking, Tim, Phalanx a advantage when they're at home. There is no one that is going to hit as well in their park as they hit, because there are not a lot of hammers who are lefty, right, except for some of these guys they've got in Oliva and in Yaz and a couple of those guys. A lot of the lefties who are good power hitters are not great every single year. So I kind of see that in there. So how about you, Sir Tony? What does the Central look like to you?
Well, there's two teams in here that I think that are for real. they're all good. But the two that stand out is Arroyo and Frontier. Arroyo, they're pitching, I believe. Yeah, this is the one with Koufax, Marichal, Warren Spahn. Looks like possibly Eddie Fisher on the back end. I like that pitching staff. I think that defense plays well in this park. Again, I mean, looks like he could have a decent amount of ones. My only concern is left field. I mean, he's going to have to go with Stargell in left, which doesn't play much defense here because it looks like K-Line, Flood just plays center field. So, and I think Tuttle plays center and right. So that's a little bit of a setback. But I think the pitching right there is going to keep them in a ton of games. So that, and then Frontier, I think, is really tight here too. I love Sadecki. I think that's really good play. Dick Selma's always been good for me. Acker, and let's see, looks like Acker will probably be the back end guy. But I love Beatty at catcher. Hodges at first. Looks like he's strong up the middle. Johnson at second. This is a team with Petrocelli at short. So I think this team has the potential. Doesn't have as strong a pitching as Arroyo, but I think they have more of a set team. So I like Frontier. I like Arroyo. Zillas, Jenkins is tough. Law is tough. Nash is tough. And Blue Moon Odom. But then I look at their catchers with Berg. I'm big on the defense, guys. Burgess is a 4. Oliver's a 4. I don't think they're going to be. And you're right, what Charles said earlier with Maris and Mantle. They need them guys to really perform. And then Florence, Killebrew playing third base. I think it could be a little bit of a liability there. Good defense in the outfield with Stanley, Oliva, and Alou. So that's my assessment of this.
Now, guys, let's do our rankings from 1 to 4. Okay, Sir Charles, where do you see the Central? What's your prediction?
I think it's going to come down to Florence. Surprising Florence and New Frontier. I believe those are going to be a division leader and a wild card. And after that, I'm thinking Arroyo. And then the Mantle and Maris boys, there's 30% chance that one or the other is going to have a bad card. And I think it's going to sink them to the bottom of the division.
Okay. So how about you, Sir Peter? What is your final predictions for this?
I got Villas winning it. Florence definitely will be second and a wild card team. Then Arroyo and then New Frontier pulling in the rear.
So how about you, Sir Tony? What is your prediction?
Well, this goes to show you how we don't differ on this Strat-O-logy, right? Because I see it opposite of those guys. I see Frontier with just enough balance to win the division. Maybe we'll break down the West next. But, I mean, if I see Frontier, I see Arroyo, I see Florence. And then, again, I agree with Charles' assessment. Is too much put on the M&M boys for the Zillas finishing last. Just my take.
Okay. Sounds really good. We'll be back after this.
You're listening to the 365 Sportscast Network, the streaming future of sports talk radio. Listen to us round the clock on the net over 365sportscast.com. On your phone with the 365 Sportscast app, and on your favorite smart speaker by enabling the 365 Sportscast skill and saying, "Play 365 Sports." The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of 365 Sportscast, LLC, its owners and partners, or this network.
Sir Strat of the Roundtable.
We're back with our last division to go through today. Now the West, where we have the Plainview Mystery Men, the Hollis Heroes MTC 21F, the Mudville 9, and the Flatbush Sledgehammers. Where do you see this league, Sir Charles? Where do you see this division, Sir Charles?
I see this is the most fun division to look at and imagine the results for. You got three of the best hitters ballparks. You have Atlanta, Tiger Stadium, and Fenway, and then you've got Flatbush playing in the Astrodome, which is absolutely amazing. So this is what I see. The club that I like the best in the division is Plainville, and the reason I like Plainville is sorry, I was flipping. Plainville is that, first of all, I find their pitching to be very neutral. They're all good whip pitchers, not spectacular. Steve Carlton, Gary Nolan, and Dave McNally, Larry Durker, these are guys that I always pick, and they're good values, the upper fours, low fives, and they usually always put on a good show for them. Their fielding it's above average. With Epstein and Ernie Banks and Danny Cater, there's a lot of guys that play first. Tony Perez, a lot of guys play first base, but looks like Perez is going to be at third. Ernie Banks is at shortstop. So fielding is capable. It's not outstanding, but I think it's good enough to win. But their batting, I love their batting. I love this team's hitting abilities. I always like a team with Ernie Banks. They can play first or short. I like their outfield with Aaron Bonds and Bob Allison. They're all good power hitters, good average hitters, great on-base percentages. And they play in Atlanta, so they're going to blast off. And he did a really, really good job. He picked pitchers with low home run totals, so that will neutralize Atlanta. The second team I want to talk about is Hallie's Heroes. And on paper, this looks like a beautiful team. He built the team for Tiger Stadium. He's got a bunch of lefty bats and he's got lefty pitchers, but I see this team as a total mirage. He's playing at Tiger Stadium. It's a big offensive stadium. And the pitchers, though they're all lefties, they give up a lot of walks. Sam McDowell is the ace, for example. So what I see is there'll be a lot of base runners. There'll be a lot of, there'll be a lot of station to station against them. I don't like their bullpen. Clay Carroll can be hit or miss. Hopefully he's always better on one of his more even cards. If you get a lopsided card that favors righties, it could be big trouble. And Daryl Knowles, same with Daryl Knowles. So he's going to have to really, really play the matchups and hope Hal, the computer, deals and puts the pitchers in where they should be in. And same with Eddie Matthews, I really like. McCovey, I like. Shamsky, I like. Wagner, I like. Billy Williams, I like. These are all lefties for Tiger Stadium, but he'd better out-hit them because Wagner's a 4, Shamsky's a 4, Billy Williams is a 3+1. All of their outfielders are like 0s and +1s. So I think that's just enough to sink them. It's a good team. It looks good on paper, but it's definitely a mirage. Let's talk about Flatbush. Flatbush is in the Astrodome. And, if he built his team in a way against all those basher teams and stadiums, he would have had a real edge. But I don't see the only guy that is a real stolen base threat is Maury Wills at a AA. Reggie Smith is a B. Cepeda is a B. But he doesn't seem to have a team that's built for the Astrodome. He seems to have a team that's built for a more neutral park or even a pitcher's park. Now, pitching is going to be dominant. He went hard for the Astrodomes with Bob Gibson's 8.3, Joe Horland 7.5, Sonny Siebert 6.24. I definitely think that his starting pitching is great. His bullpen could do really well and not, but his strength is in his starting pitchers. But I think that how he built his team is going to not bring him up to the top of his game. Now, Mudville. Mudville's a really fun team. And James, you really kind of built them for Fenway. And it's definitely, you're a gambler. You know what? You're sitting there, you're waiting for the inside straight on the river with this team. And if it hits, you'll do okay. But I think you've taken too many risks on this team. You're going to have Tommy Sisk throw some innings at least every 8th day. And that's always a risk. So your starting pitchers have a lot of question marks behind them. Clyde Wright, are you going to have the Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde Clyde Wright? Nelson Briles, is he going to get pounded by left-handers, especially the Tiger Stadium left-handers? There's a lot going on with your pitching staff. There's a lot of red flags. So, be ready to cut bait if things aren't going well. Batting-wise, it's a good hitting team. You've got Norm Cash. You got Felipe Alou, who's my favorite. You've got a good bench, Covington and Savage, Johnny Callison. But here's the problem. You're with three other teams that are in equally hitters' ballparks. And I think out of those three, you are the third best in offense. And that's probably going to cost you. So that wraps up another edition of Dis the Host.
I think it will be a very tough division. There's no doubt about it. I think it's very interesting that all three parks are in that division. And actually, I made a trade. Allison, I originally had Allison, and I traded him for Callison, so I had a lefty in right field. Okay, Sir Peter, what do you think about the West?
All right, so this is probably the toughest division to predict. I think in the end, Flatbush will edge out all of these hitting teams. And here's the reason why. So I think, so Plainview, I love the pitching staff. Really, every 4 games, you're going to see a top 25 pitcher. And obviously you're going to need to avoid the long ball, and it's going to be difficult to do in that division. They can go deep, but the bullpen is very small, and you can be very deliberate with it. So Hal won't really do anything funny with it. If you strategize a specific way, it's gonna behave like you want it to. So obviously, if you have the right cards and you're able to put the right people in the position, it's going to do very well for you. But I do think, in spite of the fact of the offense and the park, I think it's going to go through some dead periods where they're going to end up in some pitchers' parks. They're going to end up with some, just a bad run, and it's really has some dead periods. If they can get timely hits, it'd be great. But I just think this team is ripe for starting off with a real flashy, maybe a 15-5 start, and really getting losing losing 9 in a row kind of team. When it comes to Halle, very lefty heavy, and again, I very much agree with Sir Charles's take on it. It does have, and again, right, it has a lot of walks, and the bullpen is going to come into play early, and they don't have a very good pen. So I think after they're going to lose a lot of games in the 6th and 7th innings. Mudville, and does their pitching even matter? That this team, you really went all or nothing on this, and I think you're going to get a lot of all. I got to be honest with you. I really, I love the bullpen strategy here. And if the pitching can withstand the barrage that you're going to take in Fenway, I think it can be a huge winner. But again, with that park and with your offense, with that offense on that team, it will end up in some hitters' parks. It will end up, facing some good pitching, and it's going to go through some dry periods. So that kind of brings me to Flatbush. They're sort of the odd man out in this division, and I think that's going to play to their advantage. I think they have a great rotation. I think it can withstand its lackluster or not or what it's lacking in defense. But the offense, again, it's deep, it's balanced, and this is kind of what I'm looking for in this league. I think you can put, 5 out of 15 hitters, you got 12 of them which really can produce. And so you can withstand some injuries, and again, odd man out. Mudville is going to need to win some games late, and they're going to run into Astrodome, and that offense is just going to get squelched in there. So with that, Flatbush is my pick for that division. Very, 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 very tough division to pick.
Okay, and how about you, Sir Tony? You get the last shot at the host.
I do. And I'm going to save the host for last because you're going to like what I have to say about you. And I'm not doing that just because you're the host. Okay, looking at Plainville, Gary Nolan, McNally, Carlton, Durker, very solid. Wilbur Wood, and Ron Klein on the back end. So they have a very solid pitching staff. And what I like about them is their speed in the outfield. If you look at their outfield with Aaron Bonds and Allison, very fast outfield, right? Allison not as fast, of course, but you have a 1-17 and a 1-16 with Bonds and Aaron respectively. So they can have some fun with that. But I don't think they're strong defensively up the middle as they should be. Well, Carlos Clark's okay. I assume they're playing Tony Perez at third base. It's because he play first because Epstein's 4 over there. Perez can play first base, so maybe he'll end up going that way. See what he is at first base over there. Yeah, he may move him over there. But I like the pitching and the team speed with Plainville. Haley's Gary Peters. I like Gary Peters and Tommy John. I've had success with those guys before. Knowles on the backside, Fred Gladding on the backside, another unsung guy in this deck. Catchers are both 3s. Again, I think their defense is a little too shoddy for what I like, but offensively they should be okay. They'll hit a few homers. They got some 29. They got some 30 homer guys, which is not a big deck for homers, as you guys know. Mudville 9, which I said I'd save him for last, so let's save him for last. Flatbush, good pitching. Sonny Siebert, Bob Gibson, Lon Borg, and Peranowski. I've had success with it, in the pen as well. He may be the closer on that team where Eddie Watt. But again, their defense don't stand out to me. And you guys know I'm a defensive kind of guy. In this deck, I think there's a lot of singles to be had, a lot of doubles to be had. I think these bigger parks, yes, these smaller parks are conducive. This division has 3 parks that definitely it can score some runs in. But then we get to Mudville, and what I really like about your team, James, is I love your defense, of course. I mean, Aparicio, the best shortstop in the deck. Bobby Richardson, I had a lot of success with at second base. You could start Romano behind the dish and then substitute Jerry Grody into every game, 2-2 and an E5. That'll play well. And then I like your outfield is just, they're there, right? Alou, Klein, and Callison. And then you have Gabrielson there as well. But your biggest average guy there is Philippe Alou. And again, he's a 1-15. So you have decent amount of speed. You're not overly fast. So that's my assessment of this division. I don't think this division is going to be as close as these guys think. I think this one's going to have a little bit of space between top to bottom, right? And then when you get to my prediction on the end, I'll tell you how I see them finishing.
Very weird having it be one of my teams is the one that we're looking at. Klein will be coming off the bench as a pinch hitter. Colavito will be the left fielder.
Okay.
So Colavito. So it'll be Colavito, Alou, and Callison.
No one mentioned Colavito all with any of us.
Yeah. So, and I like that card because all 5 years are good years.
-4 and an E5, and he can hit okay. Yeah, that's a good call playing Colavito in left.
I ended up taking him.
I like this team.
I ended up taking him because he was the guy that was there. I mean, and it was compared to the rest of the guys that were still in the draft. He was really heads and shoulders above, I think, what was the guys that were left. Okay, so let's talk about where our predictions are for this division. And that would start with you, Sir Charles.
All right, I'm calling Plainview as number 1 in this division. And then it's going to be interesting for the rest of them. You guys may have swayed me a little bit with Flatbush, and Tony definitely swayed me a little bit hearing his take on Mudville. So I'm going to go, Halley's is going to come in last, just based on, because I want to stay true to myself, what I already said. So Plainville, and then followed by Mudville, then Flatbush. And what I also see in this division is that you guys will be battling it out. And with your stadiums, whoever makes the best early adjustments. What I find with 365 12 team leagues is when you start up great, you tend to not tinker at all as you should. Some teams end up making these great pickups. So I've started out like 16-6, And then I've stood pat while the teams beneath me trade off and get better with some of their trade ups. And I end up coming in third or second or fourth. So whoever makes the adjustments in this division is probably going to win it.
You know, you got to take a look. 9 out of the 12 players in this league have been in this tournament just about every time for the last 8 years. These guys definitely know how to adjust on the fly. And you'll see some of these teams, and I'm back and research some of them. You'll see there's some of these teams with winning records making 30 switches. So that's quite a bit. So, okay, Sir Peter, what is your prediction for this division?
All right. So I really do like Flatbush. I like Flatbush to win this division. I like Mudville to come in second, Plainview to third, and then Hal to come in fourth. I really think the odd man out, when it comes to Flatbush being the pitcher's park, will set them apart and really overall set them apart from the division. I think Mudville and Flatbush will pull away from the rest of the pack, and they will fight down the stretch.
Okay. And Sir Tony, what is your prediction?
Well, you're going to love this. I half agree with Peter. I think Mudville will fight it out with Plainview. I think the wild card comes out of this division. I'm a defensive guy, especially what you said about the left fielder. That's even going to reassure me a little bit more that your pitching's fine. Plainview's pitching's fine. I like Mudville and Plainview to go head-to-head, where Mudville edges out Plainview towards the end, the last few games of the year. And then Heroes and Flatbush, I think, will just kind of fade off. I think Flatbush is a little bit stronger than Heroes, in my opinion, with their pitching staff. So if I had to call it, I'd call Mudville, Plainview the wild card, Haley's here. Flatbush and Haley's. That's how I would call that division. Even went out on a limb to predict the wild card comes out of this division.
Okay, and then let's just go one last thing. Who wins it all, Sir Charles?
I'm going to go with Mystery Grinch.
Mystery Grinch. Sir Peter, who is your pick to win the whole thing?
It's tough. It's going to be a very hard-fought playoffs, but I really, really like Zillis. I really like this. I actually, when I was doing my assessment, I wrote, I love this team. It's just top to bottom. I just think it's built for the marathon. And I just think they're going to have they have the most chances to have good cards. I really, really think they're going to they're in it for the long haul, and I think they're going to do it.
Okay, and you, Sir Tony, who do you think is going to take the trophy?
Well, again, I mean, I'm partial, right? Because I'm a defensive guy. The guy, when I played this league before, guy says to me, "You're not going to win this. You don't hit enough home runs." I said, "Watch me. I had the best ERA in the league." Good defense will make these pitchers better as well, because these are good pitchers in this league. This is a pitcher's deck. So, I mean, I don't want to jinx you there, James, but I have to say I predict Mudville to win this league. Now, a lot could happen, like Peter said. It's going to depend on Peter and Charles both alluded to it. It's going to depend on adjustments and how you adjust coming out of the gate if you have a few bad cards. But, I mean, you're not going to replace Aparicio, and you're not going to replace Richardson. You're going to turn double plays, and you're going to be strong up the middle, right? So I think at that point, I think Mudville got a very good shot to win this thing. And I'm just not saying that because you're on the other end, because I'm a defensive guy. So to me, this is the team I would draft. And I won a 60s league with all defense, like I said, hitting very little home runs. I think George Scott had the most at like 25, very little home runs. I got guys on base. I got him in. I got him over. I got him around. And then I had Dick Raditz with 50 saves. I mean, you have a Dick Raditz in this group on the backside. Let's see, you have Miller on the backside, looks like a closer type back end guy. You have Lizzie Worthington. You have some other save guys and some other. This one guy got a .17 whip. Who's that, Horner? So I think you got a good shot, James, to win this tournament.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That may be the
I'm not saying that, and I feel uncomfortable
as you picking me. So
I will take it. Now you're going to keep inviting me back because I've talked you up, but I'm giving you my reason why I think you got a shot, right?
Well,
I'm a defensive guy. You got a defensive team. I think, and your pitching's good enough. You can make that defense can make marginal pitchers better. The only problem is, like I said, in Fenway, it's an offensive park, right? I always play this defense in defensive home parks. So, but again, I think you have enough to survive, but we'll see how that works. But I also think
you're
going to
the hell's ears. Okay, guys. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back. Okay, thank you guys. A big, huge thank you to our Roundtable review, Sir Peter, Sir Charles, and Sir Tony, our regular cast of characters, Andrew Burkham, Joaquin Lewis III, Jimmy Dees, Carolyn Snyder, and the music man Jeff Teczon. All the music you heard today was written and produced by Jeff. Follow or like us on social media. Check out our website, www.strat-o-logy.com. Or give us a phone call on our toll-free line, 855-888-0096. Be a part of the show. Hey, Jeff, can you play us out?
You got it, Jimmy James.
Find us every Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, on 365 Sportscast radio streaming service. Download the app. Makes it crazy easy to listen. See you next week. Same Strat time, same Strat channel.